যদি কেউ দোষী প্রমাণিত হয় তাকে যাবজ্জীবন কারাদণ্ড দিল আই ডোন্ট মাইন্ড।
এরকম একটা চরিত্রহীন লোক সরকারি সমর্থন মুখ্যমন্ত্রীর আশীর্বাদ ছাড়া কখনো হতে পারে না।
Hello everyone, you're watching News Epicenter with me, Maria Shakil. The probe into the West Bengal school recruitment scam is getting bigger by the day, and more damning evidence is coming to light. After the mega cash seizures over 20 crore, the Enforcement Directorate has now widened its investigation as more documents have been recovered from Partha Chatterjee's home, including multiple land, residence and company deeds, as well as records of luxury apartments. Partha Chatterjee's aide, Arpita Mukherjee's name is featured in almost all these documents. She is also the director of 6 companies which the ED believes was used to launder money, because the registered address of one of the companies is the same as her Diamond City South apartment. It is the same place where ED officials actually seized that mound of cash. A black diary has also been seized from Arpita Mukherjee, which has details of cash transactions, which was used by Arpita to keep tab on the deposits. This comes just a day after Enforcement Directorate raids at Partha Chatterjee's home found several admit cards of SSC job aspirants, a merit list of SSC Group C and Group D staff, and a list of 48 names of job aspirants in upper primary levels in schools. The agency says, prima facie, it seems there was a price tag to make it to Partha Chatterjee's list, who was the education minister then. Now, the BJP has accused Mamata Banerjee of being involved in the scam as well, after a stunning memo highlighted that Partha Chatterjee tried to call Mamata Banerjee before his arrest around 4 times. 3 times the chief minister did not answer the call, and the 4th time, when he did try to call her, she blocked his number. In fact, Mamata Banerjee has also distanced herself from the controversy, saying she does not support corruption and those found guilty should be given life imprisonment. But more TMC leaders are on the ED radar, and one TMC MLA named Manik Bhattacharya has been asked to appear before the agency tomorrow. Manik Bhattacharya is also the former West Bengal Secondary Education Board president. Meanwhile, Partha Chatterjee continues to serve as industry's minister. So why is Mamata Banerjee limiting her role to just distancing herself from the controversy? If she stands up against corruption, why is she, in her capacity as the chief minister, not taking action against a minister, even as the evidence continues to mount? Joining me on the show, Shishir Bajoria is the spokesperson of West Bengal BJP. Dr. Anshul Avijit is the spokesperson of the Congress. Saket Gokhale representing the TMC. Santanu Sen, former joint director of CBI. And Kabir Shankar Bose is a lawyer of the Apex Court. Saket Gokhale, purely based on what the evidence that has been found against Partha Chatterjee, the fact is that he hasn't been removed from either the party or the government. This decision of your party boss, party supremo, to not remove him from the government raises questions. How long will you continue to back him?
I'm sorry I did not get the memo where the Enforcement Directorate has become the judiciary which decides evidence and what is not. I mean, as far as at least I know about Indian civics and how the system works, it is the judiciary that considers evidence and decides whether it's evidence or not. As far as backing goes, I think the Honorable Chief Minister of West Bengal has made it very clear that there is zero tolerance for corruption. And in fact, we have demanded a fast-track court into this case. We have appealed to the ED, we have appealed to the central government to set up a fast-track court and do this case as fast as possible. Partha Chatterjee is guilty, send him for life imprisonment. I mean, we're completely in support of that if he's found guilty. But the question here really remains is, on what basis is, the BJP or any of these parties having a say in it? Because Suvendu Adhikari, about 3 weeks ago, his aide himself admitted on camera Suvendu Adhikari's taken money. There are visuals of him accepting bribe. Himanta Biswa Sarma went into the BJP washing machine. The Louis Berger case, the Sarda scam cases were dropped against him. Yedurappa's diary came out, nothing happens to Yedurappa. Maharashtra, all the Shiv Sena MLAs who had
Sakit
ED cases against them.
I'm just trying to remind you of what Partha Chatterjee is in your party. He is not just any minister. He is the number 2 in Mamata Banerjee's cabinet. He is the Secretary General of the party. The propriety demands that someone as powerful as him, if he is in custody and the evidence that clearly takes questions to his doorstep, can the party continue to say that if he is involved in corruption, then only we will take action? What about now?
If custody, sorry, Maria, but if custody were to be considered as culpability, then Amit Shah was in the custody of the CBI in the Gujarat government. Was he sacked as Home Minister? I'm sorry, being in custody does not make anybody guilty. Neither does it make anybody innocent. It's the court of law that decides eventually.
Okay, Shishir Bajoria.
Sorry, who is interrupting? I'm sorry, let me finish what I'm saying, please. Let me finish what I'm saying and then you can interrupt as much as you want and go on and saying whatever you want to. The Chief Minister herself is a epitome of propriety. The ED has tried, but the ED has never been able to even touch the Chief Minister of West Bengal. She does not even take a salary. Even the salary that is due to her, she donates it. She doesn't even take that. So as far as propriety is concerned, we know very well what our party stands for. We know we have zero tolerance for corruption. We don't have a washing machine like the BJP where corrupt people can come in and their sins are washed away.
This is the point that is made by opposition parties repeatedly. That only when a leader who faces corruption charges joins your party, that he becomes completely absolved of everything. That there is no investigation against him.
Maria, first of all, before I answer your question, let me make one point very, very clear. My dear friend Saket Gokhleji, he's got his historical facts completely wrong. When Amit Shah ji became Home Minister, there was nothing pending against him, number one. Number two, I'm coming to West Bengal because I presume today's debate is on West Bengal. On West Bengal, this thing of BJP washing machine, let me ask one question to my Trinamool friend. You all throughout the election kept calling us washing machine. Every leader of Trinamool, you took him back. You used to blame them as corrupt and then say that they are being washed by BJP washing machine. Everyone you took them back. Number one. Number two, if you talk of nothing happening, who told you that CBI is not investigating against Shubhendu Adhikari? Who told you? Even now, if you say that when they were in BJP against Mukul Roy, nothing happened. Of course, twice he was called to ED. Twice he was called. You don't know all this. Despite all that, you took back all your people from that so-called BJP washing machine. Why did you take them back? You knew they were corrupt because you used to say that the BJP ke washing machine se nikal ke aaya. Everyone, not just Mukul Roy, Sabyasachi Datta, Banerjee, everyone. You took them back.
So you admit there is a washing machine.
Please, now when you talk about how great your party and how great your leader is, your leader says, put them under life imprisonment. I do not stand for the guilty. I have not taken a rupee. Let me remind one thing to Trinamool friends. When they came to power, every hoarding used to carry one Bangla saying, I'll say it in Hindi for viewers to understand, Satyata ki pratik. अब आप भी ये लिखना बंद कर दिए हैं. याद कीजिए, आप शायद बंगाल नहीं आते हैं. If you come to Bengal, ask some of your TMC friends, they've stopped writing Satyata ki pratik Mamata Banerjee. And यहाँ पे has once Mamata Banerjee said that this is Partha Chatterjee, I will at least suspend him pending inquiry? No. Mound of cash has been found with his lady friend.
Okay.
Mound of cash.
Saket Gokhale, quick response from you and then I bring in other panelists quickly.
Let me get this straight. Cash has been found at the house of somebody called Arpita Mukherjee, who's neither a Trinamool member, nor is she anyway connected to the Trinamool Congress, nor is she connected to the TMC. It has been found at a person's house who is allegedly an aide of Partha Chatterjee. Partha Chatterjee has not even been charged yet. I mean, forget, there's not even a charge sheet that has been filed.
So if a charge sheet is filed, then action will be taken is what that Is that what you're saying, Saket Gokhale?
I have a very small 5-second question for my friend.
See,
5-second question, will you permit me?
This the one way, no, you asked a, I mean, okay, you asked a question, or let me respond to it, unless you don't want.
Just let me add with one more question. Please respond together. Please permit me that. Has Partho Chatterjee once said, I don't know who this lady is? I've got nothing to do with this lady? Has once he said, rather, their documents are found at his flat and her flat. Now please answer.
I mean, this is a BJP debate, at the end of it. You want me to respond, but you're not letting me respond.
Sir,
point number one.
Quiet, sir.
This, again, this guy's interrupting. Geez, can you have some civility, please? You guys are used to having.
Okay, Saket, respond, please. You are making unnecessary observations. Please continue with your argument.
No, can I continue uninterrupted?
Go ahead, Saket. You were also interrupting him when he was speaking. Go ahead.
Because obviously I was
go ahead, make your point.
When you talk about the cash that has been when you talk about the cash that has been recovered from Partha Chatterjee's house, the Trinamool Congress has nothing to do with the person from whose house it was recovered. Now, if they say that this person was connected with Partha Chatterjee, etc., there are pictures of Narendra Modi also with Nirav Modi and Mehul Chokshi and all of that. Okay. So let's not get into those convictions.
Shantanu
That's the job of the investigating agency.
Shantanu Sen, the point being made by the Trinamool Congress is that if an individual is being questioned or there is an investigation against him, that doesn't mean that he is guilty. But if that individual occupies a higher office, a high office such as one of the top ministers in a government, what does propriety demand? And given the nature of evidence that has come out now, we have, this is the seizure memo which talks about all that has been seized, which includes, envelope having printed on it, Minister of in charge, Department of Higher Education, School Education, Parliamentary Affairs, Government of West Bengal containing 5 lakhs. There are several such documents which have been found from her home, which is certainly talking about her association. And why would these documents be at her home in the first place, which relates to Education Department? So all this evidence, can Trinamool Congress continue to make the argument that they are making, that this has nothing, there is no direct link that has been established, because Arpita Mukherjee, whatever said and done, is neither a TMC member nor is she directly linked to Partha Chatterjee.
Look, there is an expression in our investigation which is called prima facie, and there is another expression of guilt. Prima facie is the starting point of investigation. This is beyond the starting point. After the investigation was started against a prima facie guilty person who was prima facie held guilty as corrupt, prima facie, by the ED, investigation started and a search was conducted. The search has revealed what you have said. It is astonishing, it is enormous. Now, here was a person who was in connection with a lady from 2012, it's now 10 years. He has been seen with her, he has been active with her. There is enormous evidence, oozing evidence to suggest they were connected. And that has been established by search. His papers have been found in her place, her papers have been found in his place. So prima facie, there is great evidence of something cooking, something corrupt that has taken place, and that has been going on for years. It is very strange that this has been going on for such a long time, and neither the party hierarchy, nor the media, nor the public. It reminds me of that great story of the emperor walking in the park naked and everybody oozing praise and only the child saying, oh, he is naked. Nobody said anything. Now that has been found that he is connected with Arpita, and Arpita has been found full of riches. Naturally, the people and the investigating agencies will link both together. In my opinion, prima facie, he has been found to be corrupted, found to be linked with unlawful, illegal money, violator of the foreign exchange, and without any argument, without any ado, he should quit. He should be made to quit. And this sort of argument which is going on between two spokespersons is something I'm amazed to hear. Come on. Think. Here is a person who is connected for 10 years and you are asking for evidence of connection?
Yes.
Here
What
is a
more
person
evidence do you need?
who
Fine
is
enough.
found with
Kabir
papers.
Shankar Bose.
It is not evidence, it is prima facie. It's prima facie.
It's
and
prima facie.
facie is enough to ask a person to suspend.
Okay.
That's what happened in the past.
Okay.
If it is not happening now, then we are giving a lot of leeway to the corrupt person.
Okay. Kabir Bose, looking at the documents purely and this particular document which has to do with that his the judgment that came on July 24th, 2022, where Justice Chowdhury talked about how he is a senior most cabinet minister and has immense power and position. It would not be impossible for the accused, with the aid of other political executives, to take shelter under the garb of serious illness and medical treatment to evade. That was the argument, particularly in this judgment. But talking about his position, the buck stops here with the Chief Minister, would you say, because she is the highest executive of the state?
Absolutely. Let's look at the High Court order in perspective. The High Court has gone to the extent of saying that the hospital in which Partho Chatterjee got himself admitted is notorious for giving shelter to high-profile TMC criminals. The High Court has gone on record to actually mention this. I mean, in open court, there were certain observations by the Honorable Judge where he named certain persons. There was another minister in the past who was arrested in a financial scam. He was in this Woodburn unit for the longest time ever. Recently, we've seen that some of TMC leaders also take admission in these hospitals, especially the SSKM hospital, to escape from interrogation by the central agencies. Now, this is a part of the state government. The overall responsibility lies with the Chief Minister. Did the Chief Minister knowingly give shelter to Partho Chatterjee in Woodburn unit of SSKM hospital? Did she knowingly instruct the doctors there that, look, declare him ill so he doesn't have to face interrogation? Was she a part of this? I mean, further investigation should go on. And if she was a part of it, law will take its own course. But yes, I do not believe, as a legal practitioner, Partho called her several times. I do not believe, she always says that she is in control of Bengal. So I believe that she was definitely aware, and wherever Partho has tried to subvert the course of justice, she may have been aware. And did she play an active role or not? Investigation will reveal that. Okay,
Saket Gokhale, you heard from a former joint director of the Central Bureau of Investigation and a lawyer. Both of them are of the opinion that the buck stops with the Chief Minister, and in not taking an action against Partha Chatterjee, where he should have been suspended from the party and also from the government, there are several questions that will be asked of the Chief Minister's alleged involvement now.
So two things I wish to respond here is, one, to the gentleman who's the retired police officer. He kept talking about prima facie, prima facie. Let me remind you that even when Aryan Khan was arrested by the NCB, they claimed they had prima facie. Prima facie evidence or not is the job of the court to decide. When Partha Chatterjee's bail application comes up, the court will decide whether there is a prima facie case or not. Prima facie evidence is not your opinion, my opinion, or that of a retired police officer or even a serving police officer. Prima facie is decided by the judiciary. Number one. Number two, I'm reminded of what the Honorable Chief Justice of India said yesterday, which is exactly what we are seeing playing out here. There is a certain legal practitioner who says, I believe, I think, I claim. Chief Justice, the Honorable Chief Justice of India said 2 days ago that the media has gotten used to now running kangaroo trials and kangaroo courts on TV. You know, we don't wait for the judicial process to take its course. And this is not me saying it. This is the highest legal authority of the land. This is the Chief Justice of India. They say media conducts kangaroo trials. The media decides who is guilty, who is not, asking all these questions.
But here is not the media that is saying that he is guilty. We are asking questions particularly to do with the credibility of your own party, because there are charges of Sharda Narda, and despite that, if you have got that kind of victory, you have to answer to your own people as well.
Ms. Shakil, if you're saying Sarda Narda, you're not asking a question about Suvendu Adhikari then.
I asked that question.
Can I answer?
I asked that question, but Saket Gokhale, since you have asked that specific question, you have essentially talked in the terms of what, Santanu Sen was saying. Santanu Sen, one view certainly is that why should, if there is no, let that come before the court. Why should the investigating agencies be seen as judge, jury, executioner here? Let that come before the court, let the trial begin, and then only the action will be taken.
In prevention of corruption, no. In prevention of corruption, the executive has a role. The executive gives permission for investigation. Executive sees what is prima facie there. And you continue with a person who is prima facie found holding connections with a person who has so much money, so much property.
There's a difference between PMLA and prevention of corruption.
No, I am talking about the executive. He has not been charged with corruption, but take stock of what is found on him and believe that he's corrupt.
Sir, look at, I'm talking about the law.
The executive should find out. No, I am talking about the law also. The executive has a role to play who under you is corrupt. And if you see so much material, you have to come to a judgment. You can't be sitting like a Buddha. You can't be sitting like a Buddha.
The ED is also controlled by the union government executives here.
That doesn't matter. UD is investigating money laundering. But you are faced with, you have to jump ahead. You are faced with a person, you are faced with the evidence of corrupt money. 21 crores and 2 lakhs of money is not a small person. Not a small amount. You have to come to the conclusion. As head of the TMC, you have to come to the conclusion whether he is corrupt or not. Don't forget, he is under ED investigation is fine, but also see whether he is corrupt or not. And this evidence is sufficient for corruption.
Okay.
Prima facie.
Okay, prima facie again. Dr. Anshula Vijit has been very, very patient. Dr. Anshula Vijit, today the Congress was on the streets demanding that, essentially saying that central agencies are being misused by the center against the political opponents, because ED questioned Sonia Gandhi for the second day. Will you be saying the same in the context of TMC, or because they are your political opponents in the opposition space visibly, you'll be making a different argument?
No. I mean, as far as the TMC is concerned, Mamata Banerjee has made the statement already that she cannot tolerate corruption and the fact that the guilty should be punished and that there should be a fast-track court. She said what she had to say. What I find compelling in this entire debate is the metaphor of the washing machine. I mean, it's absolutely apt. There is a process of laundering that goes on in which you come out squeaky clean and completely unblemished. I mean, do tell me this grand amount of money that has always been spoken about, if the ED went after senior members of the BJP who've been accused of corruption, and there's an entire very, very dazzling list of those members. I don't have to repeat them. You know that very well. Some names have already been mentioned. There are chief ministers, there are former chief ministers, there are land scans, there are police recruitment scans, there is Vyapam scan. There is the recent washing machine metaphor can be applied to the legislators in Maharashtra, the chief minister of Maharashtra. Do tell me, has the ED gone on knocking at the doors of any of the members, small, any worker of the BJP? I mean, isn't that a little bit amiss when we discuss this entire story of the ED and getting after people? Of course, corruption is not tolerated. It's intolerable. They shouldn't be there. Mamata Banerjee's statement is absolutely correct. But there must be something amiss about this.
This is the charge that is coming from your political opponents. Just about every party in opposition says that you have misused central agencies. And if anything, the conviction rate, the low conviction rate, particularly of the Enforcement Directorate, is a classic example that this is being used just because you want to threaten them.
Arya, let me give 2 live examples of West Bengal. They go on and on and on that nothing is happening to Shubhendu Adhikari. Who says that the investigation has stopped? Who says? Number 1. Number 2, I'll give you an example, and I'm going to repeat this example. When Mukul Roy was in BJP, he was called twice. Did BJP know, did the agencies know that he's going to go back to Trinamool? Did anybody know that he'll turn turtle again? That he'll go back? No. He was called twice. Was he happy about it? No, he was not. But he was called. And now my question to Sri Saket Gokhale, once again the question, answer this question, Mr. Gokhale. Why did your party take them back?
What about other
Why?
members of the
The so-called
who have not got indicted? Forget about the washing. Yeah, what about the other members? I mean, there's a long list of them.
एक सेकंड धीरज रखिए,
उनका तो जवाब दीजिए सर.
ये सुनने में बहुत अच्छा लगता है, वॉशिंग मशीन. अभी कांग्रेस को
नहीं,
आज
वॉशिंग मशीन को छोड़ दीजिए. हाँ, सुनने में बड़ा अच्छा लगता है, क्लीशे भी बन गया है. लेकिन और सारे सियासतदान हैं भाजपा के.
The crown prince of Congress was protesting on the streets. Delhi police had to arrest him. So उनको चुभ रहा है. Washing machine somehow.
नहीं, वो protest इसलिए कर रहे थे क्योंकि महंगाई के विषय में कर रहे थे.
Okay, before I give the final words to Kabir, I have a question for Saket Gokhale. I have a question for Saket Gokhale. Saket Gokhale, Mamata Banerjee as a leader has always taken the moral high ground on a range of issues, from probity to transparency. This example of corruption within, don't you think undermines her credibility?
No, it doesn't, because we have seen this happening across the board. Today, just because Mr. Rahul Gandhi or Madam Sonia Gandhi are called for investigation doesn't mean they're guilty, number one. They're doing the same thing in Delhi with Mr. Satyendra Jain, now with Mr. Manish Sisodia. So are we saying that every time ED goes after someone, that person should be dropped? That person is guilty by association?
22
and
crores! Hey, my dear friend, hello. 22 crores from the girlfriend's house. I'm sorry, from the lady associate's house. My apologies.
सवाल का जवाब सुनने की हिम्मत रखिए फिर. You are asking us why did we take those people in? Then please tell me, why did your party at 6 o'clock in the morning form the government with Ajit Pawar, drop all the ED cases against?
Answer the debate. Don't go around the solar system looking for defense when you don't have a defense. Please.
आपके washing machine का उस दिन.
Sir, Saket ji, you blamed a retired joint director of CBI. You called the media kangaroo media. Hey, come on, yaar. Please, sir, please.
नहीं सर, आप सबसे ये देश में सबका साथ सबका विकास, नरेंद्र मोदी हमारे भगवान
Maria,
हैं.
I have one question for Mr. Gokhale.
Yes, okay. Saket. Kabir Bose is a lawyer. Kabir?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Am I audible, Maria?
Yes. Loud and clear. Go ahead, Kabir. I have 1 minute left in this discussion.
We've heard a lot about washing machines. We've heard about prima facie. When an order of the court comes, it's a finding. It's a judicial finding. The judicial mind applies his mind and gives a finding on paper. We don't talk about that. My question to Mr. Gokhale is: the Honorable Calcutta High Court, the highest court of the state, has made a finding that TMC leaders take umbrage in state-run hospitals to escape interrogation. This is a finding of the High Court, sir. What do you have to say on this? This is not prima facie. This is not washing machine. It's a finding of the High Court.
Our experience, it says, our experience as a common man with regard to the role of the doctors attached to the SSKM Super Speciality Security Hospital is not a happy one. In the recent past, more than one high-ranking political leaders belonging to the ruling party were arrested or directed to appear before the investigating authority for interrogation, and they successfully avoided interrogation by taking shelter in the said hospital. When they found that there was no possibility for the investigating agency to interrogate the suspects having strong political background, they were discharged from the hospital.
What I find really funny is that
yes,
they even did a dialysis of a Trinamool leader's dog.
Okay, let him speak now. Yes, Saket, quickly.
We talk about court observations. The court is well within its pali. Observations are done dime a dozen. I mean, it was the BJP, in fact, that was crying about the Supreme Court making observations on Nupur Sharma. The bottom line is the court has the power to shut down the hospital then. See, mere, platitudes and saying things, rhetoric doesn't mean anything.
Okay, all right.
If the court has a finding, shut down the hospital.
All right.
The Chief Minister also has the power. The Chief Minister also has the power, but she is remaining quiet.
Santanu Sen, Kabir Bose, Anshul Avijit and Shishir Bajoria, thank you so much for joining us. Shifting focus now to debate 2, where the ruckus in the monsoon session of Parliament refuses to die down. After the suspension of 4 Congress MPs from the Lok Sabha on Monday, as many as 19 MPs were suspended from the Rajya Sabha today from the TMC, the DMK, the TRS and CPIM. Despite repeated appeals from the chair, there was pandemonium in the House as opposition MPs protested in the well, raising placards and even throwing papers, disrupting the entire proceedings. Opposition MPs in the Rajya Sabha have been demanding an urgent discussion on issues like price rise and the GST hike. The union government has said it is ready for a debate on price once Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman recovers from COVID and returns to Parliament. However, the biggest loser here is the Aam Aadmi, where our taxpayers, where our taxes, in fact, are wasted by this deadlock. Remember, it costs 2.5 lakh rupees per minute to run the Parliament. So are these scenes from Temple of Democracy dissent or disruption? And who is to blame for this impasse? Before we get our MPs panel, here's how the story played out today.
The House and shout slogans. It is against the will.
Fireworks in Parliament have become synonymous. But this monsoon session, we are witnessing a string of suspensions of opposition MPs. As many as 23 in 24 hours. Today, 19 MPs from Rajya Sabha were suspended for the rest of the week. They have been reprimanded for misconduct by entering the well of the House and indulging in sloganeering.
That is throttling our democratic right. Suspension has happened because this government has no answers. They do not know how to reply to inflation and price rise. That's the whole point.
But even after the suspension, the 19 MPs continue to sit in the House in protest. The latest showdown comes a day after 4 Congress MPs in Lok Sabha were suspended for the rest of the monsoon session. They had held placards inside the House despite warnings from Speaker Om Birla.
We once again repeat and request that the House be allowed to function smoothly and the government will be ready to discuss any issue, including price rise.
Ever since the monsoon session began last week, both houses have been repeatedly adjourned, with the opposition demanding discussions on price rise and GST. But the suspension spree is only likely to escalate the opposition's fury against the government. So is there no end in sight to the deadlock in Parliament?
And joining me now, Anurag Sharma, Member of Parliament of the BJP, Sushmita Dev is suspended TMC MP, Amiben Yagnik is the spokesperson and Member of Parliament of the Congress Party. Anurag Sharma, 19 MPs suspended today, 4 yesterday. Is the BJP of the opinion that it should face no question, no opposition and continue with this suspending of opposition MPs drive?
Okay, first things first, suspensions have happened in the past. And I think the highest number probably goes to Mr. Rajiv Gandhi's government of 63 MPs being suspended at one go. But let's put that aside. I was in the House the day this happened, in the Lok Sabha, where the Honorable Speaker distinctly said, and so did the Parliamentary Affairs Minister say, we're happy to have a discussion. Please have a discussion on price rise or any other such matter you wish to raise. That was very clearly said by him. He also told them very clearly that you cannot bring in placards to the House. Now, there is a custom in the House that some people do tend to come into the well of the House, but invariably they never cross over to the Treasury benches. This has been happening repeatedly. They've been bringing placards. You can.
Did the BJP never bring placards when you were in opposition?
No, I really don't think so. I'm not very well aware of that matter. I will well aware of what Mr. Jaitley said. Mr. Jaitley had said once that disruption is allowed. But when did that disruption happen? Let's put it in context. The context was a 2G scam where the courts had said, and they refused to have a discussion. Here, we were willing to have a discussion. It was said on the floor of the House by the Honorable Minister and also said by the Lok Sabha Speaker, let's have a discussion. Now, for one entire week, which is wasted the taxpayers' money, no discussions have happened in the House. Now, if you wanted to bring up discussions, you could have brought them under you could have brought them under Rules 377 during question hour.
So what exactly is the issue with the opposition MPs that you are saying, sir?
I'm sorry?
What exactly is the issue?
Repeat that.
Are you saying that they are not ready for discussion or what exactly is the issue here?
I'm saying they're not probably ready for discussion.
Okay, you are saying
You're
that
just
they are not ready
creating
for
a ruckus.
discussion. Okay, Sushmita Dev, you heard from Anurag Sharma. That is the reason why you have been suspended.
You see, it's very simple. We are talking about the taxpayers' money, i.e. the interest of the taxpayer. Please understand, these taxpayers are citizens of this country, and it is the citizens of the country who are bearing the burden of this government's policy, which is leading to price rise. You've seen the price of fuels, you've seen the price of LPG gas, and apart from that, the way the GST has been implemented from the back door on packaged goods, which has impacted very basic food items. Now, please tell me, as members of parliament who are representing the people and we sit inside parliament, should we just sit there and say yes sir to the treasury bench and please carry on doing whatever business? It doesn't matter what the mood of the nation is. Maria, go anywhere on the streets of this country. Everyone is suffering due to two reasons. One is the absolutely out of control price rise. If today I walk into parliament and wait for 15 days to raise such a burning issue, I don't think I will be able to face the people of India who are outside the parliament. So, with all due respect to the spokesman of the Bharatiya Janata Party, it is very simple. We said accept our notice, debate price rise, debate inflation, debate the imposition of GST, let the government give an answer and let the people of the nation hear what is it that the government has to say. The same government which said, "Bahut hui mehengai ki maar." But we've been denied consistently. You cannot suppress the opposition and dictate the business of the house. That is totally undemocratic, and that's what we were protesting.
If the opposition wants to debate issues such as that was talked about by Sushmita Dev, these are issues that concern the Aam Aadmi, then why is the Treasury bench not ready for it? Is it because the finance minister is unwell and let her recover and then the discussion will be held? What exactly is the reason that you have suspended TMC MPs, DMK MPs, CPI MPs, Congress MPs, everybody in opposition will be suspended?
Look, let me be very, very clear. It was said by the Speaker of the Lok Sabha that we are ready to have a discussion. We're supposed to give a notice. The time frame would have been fixed. The only request which we had was let Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman, the finance minister of this country, be present in the House. We could have started the discussion. The only thing, and that probably takes another 3 or 4 more days.
That certainly, because you know, the finance minister is best placed to respond to questions related to GST, related to price rise. What's wrong in waiting for another 3-4 days?
I think this response that let us wait for the finance minister, I am really very surprised at these kind of replies being given, especially on the television, because the notices under 267 have been given from the time, even in the last session, the notices were given, and the rulings are given just like that, well, the notices are not accepted. Now, continuously, when you do not follow the procedure of the parliament, and when the opposition parties, each one of them are giving notices, please listen to us, because we are representing the people of this country. We are bringing the burning issues to the parliament. We want a discussion, because a common man cannot go. Where would he go to voice his concern about GST and the inflation? Where would he or she go? So they want the representatives to take up this issue. But the issue is not being taken up because the representatives are not heard. There is a procedure, set procedure in the Parliament House, but that procedure is not being followed. So the rule, despite there being a notice, there are several notices by several opposition parties, none of them are being taken up for discussion. And I think this argument that the finance minister is not well, fine. But there is an MOS, somebody can come and at least give some preliminary, because somebody would be equipped with the finances and something like that, can come and say, but not a word is being told that let us have a discussion. Not a word. Just saying no, point and then I'll not hearing the notice.
Seek an answer from Anurag Sharma.
Very quickly. And so I think the opposition is not being heard at all. And so the people of this country are not being heard.
See, very quickly, Maria, let me put on record the following. The fact that Nirmala ji is not well was brought to the notice of the opposition. and we said we wish her well, please get well soon. We want her to. But we also said no issues, don't delay this, get any senior minister or MOS to reply. Now, let me also remind your viewers that when the farm law, the farmers' bills were introduced, the Defence Minister of India addressed the Parliament. So, if in that case, the Defence Minister can issue an agricultural bill and a farmer's bill, today the BJP to say, oh, Nirmala ji is not well, I think is just an excuse. Secondly, when we protested the farm bills where so many members were suspended, and this government and this party put out the same arguments that my learned friend from the BJP has put out, we were stood vindicated because the Prime Minister of India had to withdraw the farm bills. So they have to understand that what the opposition MPs are asking for inside the house is the mood of the nation.
Okay.
Don't bypass it. That's undemocratic.
Anurag Sharma, on one hand, you make this argument that the opposition is not concerned about the Aam Aadmi. They are only concerned about themselves, like what is being said in the context of Sonia Gandhi and the protests of the Congress party. Same thing being said in the context of the Aam Aadmi party, that they are interested in what is happening with Satyendra Jain and not with the Janta and the issues of people. If the opposition MPs are interested in raising questions that impact the Aam Aadmi, then why not ask any of the other ministers to respond to them?
Let me just clarify two things. One, we've said we are willing to have a discussion. Secondly, it's on GST. If they're so keen on a GST argument, the GST, the finance minister represented the central government. So she needs to be there. She knew what exactly the discussion happened. We all really don't know what exactly happens in a GST. If they were so keen on knowing, they could have asked their own finance ministers of the Congress ruled states or the TMC ruled states, why did they not put any dissenting note when the GST on these items, which they are now harping about, could have been done. I really see no dissenting note has ever been put up by any of the finance ministers from the Congress ruled states or the TMC ruled state. Now, the other thing, if you're really so keen on the Aam Aadmi, where were you on the day Mrs. Sonia Gandhi was called for question? There wasn't one single Congress MP present in the House then. They were all out on the streets protesting. So if you were so keen, you should have been in the House. If you're so keen about them, you should have had a discussion. We were willing to have a discussion.
Again, the same point
we've allowed
that for you, the family is priority. The Congress party, for them, the family is priority. And that is the reason why we saw protests happen again today, because Mrs. Gandhi was summoned by the Enforcement Directorate for the second day of questioning.
Sonia Gandhi ji is our president. And when you are misusing and abusing the powers of the Enforcement Directorate and central agencies, everyone knows that by now. And we may not go into details of how the ruling dispensation is behaving. But when the president is called again and again, and in an open and shut case of documentary evidence, and when there is nothing, you are just putting everybody to harassment. We took up this issue not for everybody, that you are using the central agencies, whether it's ED, whether it's the CBI, whether it's income tax, and you are misusing the powers instead of having fairness in proceeding against anybody and everybody. And so why not we should stand by our president? That is the first thing. Second thing, that every time to bring that, yes, you are not taking up the issues. I am telling you how many issues we have taken up in the House. Mengai, we have taken price rise, we have taken petrol hike, diesel hike, farm laws. Every time when we want to take up the issue, there is a notice by several parties, no hearing on the notice. And I think the media also should look at the main aspect, that you are never shown the left side of the chairperson sitting in the parliament. You are not shown how and in what manner people are asking for the notices to be heard, to be taken up. You always see the other side.
Why isn't the Business Advisory Committee allocating time for discussions on these very key issues?
The issues of the common people.
Why isn't the Business Advisory Committee allocating time? These are issues which are important, which should be debated in Parliament of India.
Look, we were even willing to have a discussion post 6 p.m. They were told this. The Business Advisory Committee has repeatedly said, let these bills, which are the business of the nation, be finished. Let's have a discussion post 6 p.m.
Okay,
What's the big deal? We can sit down after 6 p.m. The parliament is run till 11, 11:30, 12, 1 o'clock at night. We've had long discussions.
You are in that list of those MPs, 19 of them who have been suspended today.
Ma'am, if you are going to have behavior like this,
let me please make something very clear. Please don't mislead the viewers. It is nothing new. Whose turn is it? Whose turn is it?
I thought you had asked me.
Okay,
Maria,
Sushmita Dev, go ahead. I'll give the final words to Anurag Sharma. Yes, go ahead. Sushmita Dev.
Go ahead.
Because I don't want to get into a tutu meme. There is nothing new about the fact that in a parliament session, you can have a discussion on any topic and debate a bill. So do not tell the viewers that it is something very unusual that is going to happen. In the Business Advisory Committee meeting, opposition leaders told the chair that yes, please pass the important bills, no problem, they are small bills, allocated 2 hours, 3 hours, and simultaneously please put up our notices and we will wait for Nirmala ji, even if it takes 1 more week to come and reply, or somebody else can reply. But there is a certain urgency. The message to the nation is wrong that when there is a burning issue and we all walk into parliament and keep saying, yes, pass these government bills and like there is no problem that the people are facing, it gives a wrong message to the nation. And I think a government which feels they are justifying mehengai should take it on and tell the people, give them an explanation why you're looting the nation with such high prices of fuel and LPG. Put your arguments forward.
Okay. 30 seconds to you, Ami Ben Yagnik, and then I'll give the final words to Anurag Sharma. Go ahead.
Yes, I think the ruling dispensation is only out to have its obstinacy in a sense. It does not want to hear the people of this country. It does not want to hear the representatives of the people of the country who are coming by way of opposition parties to the house and not giving a single chance. This kind of, I think, I wouldn't use a harsh word like intolerance, but this kind of behavior does not befit a ruling party. It's a ruling dispensation who has to take everybody. It's the government who has to see that the session has to go on.
The former LOP, Mr. Jaitley, I'm going to quote him again. He had said that disruption is that the onus of running the house is always with the treasury benches. What efforts have been made by your government to ensure that there is that something happens to end this deadlock? How will this deadlock end?
2. 1. When the Lok Sabha Speaker himself says the government is willing, that means we have given it in writing to the Lok Sabha Speaker that we are willing to have a discussion on the subjects brought up by the Honorable. 2nd, when the Parliamentary Affairs Minister gets up on his chair and says to the opposition members that please sit down, go back to your benches, we are willing to have an entire discussion on the matters being brought to the House. What more assurance do you want? What do you want it to us? To hold placards in the House and say we're willing to have a discussion? Can you disrupt the House when the Honorable Minister has said that we are willing to have a discussion? Please check the Lok Sabha records. I was there. We all heard it. Now, when these burning issues of G are concerned, let them also go talk to their finance ministers and bring those questions. We'll also like to hear them. I'm more than happy to hear the Honorable MPs from the other side. They have to come with finance ministers in the place except the
all
GST
right.
Act.
Anurag
we are
Sharma,
all willing to hear.
Sushmita Dev,
we are
Ami Ben
willing to
Yagnik.
have a discussion.
Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your views. The monsoon session of Parliament is still few weeks long. So let's see how events unfold and will there be an end to this impasse. We are slipping into a short break. We'll be getting you all the details in that big race for 10 Downing Street in UK.